Another one is the biographical fallacy. It sometimes is collapsed into another, but I'm going to separate it out. There's a version of a meme that circulates every once in a while where someone's talking about a book or whatever, and someone says, the teacher, because it's always teachers who get it wrong, right? The teacher says, these curtains in this page are blue. What do you think the blue means? And, student A says, I think that it means that the curtains represent the sky, the open sky and nature, and the freedom that nature offers as opposed to the restrictions of houses and the constructions of humans. And someone else says, no, don't you remember? She loved the ocean and she wanted to travel the world. Yes, it's freedom, but the blue represents the oceans, not the sky. And then the religious kid says, no, it's not the oceans or the sky. It represents the Virgin Mary, who in Renaissance art was always painted wearing blue as the sky. And it's connecting this to Christian thought for whatever reasons and so on. And then, you either look it up online or you have the author visiting through a Zoom meeting or whatever. And so you say to them, oh, great author, what did you mean when you said that the curtains were blue? And the author just shrugs and said, I meant the curtains were blue, man. As if it doesn't really mean anything and you're reading too much into it. Hold on to that. I've kind of jumped ahead. Let's say that the teacher then says, oh, but wait. I read in your biography that when you were 5 years old, you had to move from your hometown and go to live with your grandparents. And one of the last things that you wanted to take with you, well, you had your stuffed animal, Mr. Hippo Pants, and you had your favorite wind-up soldier, I don't know, but you also wanted to take the blue curtains from your bedroom. You wanted those to go with you because it felt like home. And the author says, I forgot about that. Yeah, I guess, maybe some part of my unconscious, said, you put blue curtains in this scene because it reminds me of the blue curtains that I had in my room when I was a kid. The biographical fallacy, biography, writing about someone's life. The biographical fallacy says you should not have to know anything about the life of the artist in order to understand or appreciate the work of art. Remember when I showed you, when I put up on D2L scenes from the attack on Helm's Deep in the Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and then I hammered on about Tolkien's experiences in World War I? Well, knowing Tolkien's experiences in World War I and fighting in trench warfare and his efforts to avoid the war and the horrors of what we saw, maybe that helps us understand what's going on in the Lord of the Rings from a different point of view. But according to the biographical fallacy, we shouldn't have to know that in order really to appreciate the Lord of the Rings, if you want to call it a work of art, as a work of art. It should stand on its own. Because look, not everyone's going to read the biographical information about an author. First of all, it's not always going to be available, and even when it is, like when you get your copy of, I'm just going to stick with it, The Two Towers, and at the beginning there's an introduction by some scholar, and they talk about the book and the writing of the book and Tolkien's life and whatever. Not even when it's there, not everyone reads it. Not everyone reads it at the beginning. Sometimes they go back and read it, after they finish the book. And not everyone reads it then. Maybe they come back and read it years later and then decide, I want to reread the book or whatever, There's just no guarantee that anyone's going to know anything about the life of the author. And if they don't, they should still be able to approach or appreciate the work of art. It's nice to, look, Nirvana was a band from when I was in college. Nirvana has a song that became well known from their MTV Unplugged gig. And when I first heard it, I turned to my friend who was a bass player and a music guy, and I said, "God, that reminds me of the Beatles." And I don't think he agreed at the time, but I pushed the point and said, "Yeah, I guess that sounds a little Beatlesy." Well, years later, I just happened to be looking something up, and I came across an article online about that song, and Kurt Cobain said, well, that was my Beatles song. I wanted to write something that sounded like the Beatles. And I felt so freaking vindicated. I felt like a genius. I wasn't. But yes! I discerned this! We're no longer friends, Kurt, but if we were, I would call you and say, I saw this, you did not. We're not friends anymore, so I can't. So, it would stir up a whole bunch of stuff just to contact him and say, hey, I noticed this, and you noticed it too. And he'd say, hey, okay, how you been doing? Shut up, we're no longer friends. Click. That's the old person sound of hanging up the phone, in any case. Did I have to know that that was his Beatles song, or that he thought of it as his Beatles song in order to appreciate it? No, I listened to that damn song a bazillion times before then, over a decade or two. Did it enhance my understanding or appreciation of the song? Did it change its impact? Maybe, but it wasn't necessary. The biographical fallacy, it is not or should not be necessary to know anything about the life of the author in order to appreciate the work of art. One more.